Well, hello there. How are you going today? How are you doing in this crazy world? It's getting mad out there. Thanks for joining me. This is autodidactic, and of course, autodidactic means to be self-educated, and that's what we do here. We check out the strange realm we find ourselves in and try not to judge, right? Just take in the information and come to our own perspectives. So don't believe anything I say. Don't believe anything on the videos. Just take it as another reference point, right? Another piece of information that will lead you to a better perspective on the world. All right, let's jump into it.
Is anyone else questioning why they're letting us see all of this now? Like, we were called crazy for pointing this stuff out 10 years ago, and it just feels like something much bigger is at play here. Because just think about this, they decide what goes out to the public. They decide what we see. And so many people don't have the stomach to accept what's actually going on, so then they fall right back into the illusion. While at the same time, they're pushing so much of this dark material out to the public because of the conditioning it does to your mind. They want to normalize this even further, because while everyone is talking about these files, there is something much, much bigger, much worse that they probably don't want us to know about. And just maybe, it's something that will affect the entire world.
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? Why are they releasing all this stuff? And I've sort of been questioning this since, the e-files came out because the government released it, right? The Department of Justice released these files, and there are so many government people named in these files. So you've got to ask what is going on here. And why would these people, who we know all they do is lie, deceive, and do all their, you know, dodgy, disgusting, satanic stuff, right? And in our faces now, they're showing it everywhere. So we know what these beings, whatever they are, we know what they are, right? What their morals are. So why would they release all this stuff, right? And my view on it at the moment is that it's to traumatize people because it's traumatic stuff, right? We all know what happened when the story of the children underground came out, and that really, really traumatized a lot of people. This is doing the same. And the thing is with the e-files is nothing's going to happen, right? No one's being arrested already. Nothing, we saw the Clintons getting questioned, but again, that was put out everywhere, right? Because the elites own all the media, all of the internet, social media, all of the entertainment and all of politics, finance, on and on, right? So whatever is coming out and being pushed out and, is in your feed every day, they want it there. They want it there, right? We know that they control it all. So the question is, why are they doing this now? So let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's just to put us in a place of helplessness because we can see all this stuff going on, but we can't actually do anything to stop it? Or is there something else at play? And of course, what's going on in the backgrounds? Let me know your thoughts.
But guys, this is Dubai World. It's literally a port, a seaport, which means if you're seeing rockets fly over your head and hitting this port, it did not come from Iran because Iran is there. We won't see any rockets flying over our head unless we're in a ship. The rockets you've seen came from the opposite direction, and everyone witnessed it. No more lies, motherfuckers.
So I'm seeing reports from Dubai and other places in the Middle East right now from just ordinary people, and they're like, hey, we're watching bombs come over like this from over here. Iran's not over there. They said they're coming from over here. That's Israel. There are reports now that they're saying that most likely some of these attacks on other countries are being shot by Israel, unconfirmed, to stir the war up more. And Iran is saying we didn't shoot that. And Iran is pretty much, I don't give a fuck. They're like, yeah, we shot that most of the time. They are extremely bold with their anger and their revenge on what's happening to them. But they're saying that somebody else is shooting those missiles at air bases and other countries to make things worse and to make Iran look worse, and to get more countries involved. I think we're at 15 countries now that are involved in this war, and I call that a world war. But yeah, unconfirmed, people are saying that the bombs are coming from the wrong direction, not where Iran is even at. So we shall see.
Wow. Yes. I can neither confirm nor deny this. I haven't, checked out all the videos and the maps and everything, and it's definitely not past the boundaries of realism, is it? We know this is the kind of stuff that happens all the time. They do stuff, but then they form a narrative around it, and 99.9% of people only see the narrative, right? We're not in these countries. We don't get to see it, firsthand. Then we've got the whole, AI aspect of it. So what's really going on? Because what I do know is we're not being given the whole truth, clearly, in what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. As far as America, they're not talking about the casualties, and I've heard from sources that there's a lot, right? There's a lot. All these bases we're telling are being, targeted by Persia. We'll call it Persia, right? Because it's getting a bit dodgy, with words as they're starting to censor again. But they're telling us these attacks are coming from Persia onto military bases, but they're not reporting any casualties, where clearly there's got to be casualties going on, right? I've even heard that there's over 100 troops have been captured in Persia, which hasn't come out. So what's really going on here? This is a televised conflict, choosing my words, right? But, everything on the screen, we don't know. All that we do know about the media and those who control it is that they lie to us, that they have so many times put out false story, false reports, false footage. They've used footage from previous conflicts to push a current conflict. They've even used footage from video games and told us it's real and it's what's happening, which is a problem with AI, right? And all this stuff is it's getting so hard to pick what's real and what's not. But I think one thing that we can probably all agree on is that what we're being told is not the truth. So what do you think's going on here? Is this the Izzy country trying to expand? Because we know what's been going on, right, for since the 50s, really, right, against their neighbouring country, the G country. And so are they trying to expand even further? Because this is what they want. They want all of the Middle East, as far as I can tell. So is this, what's really behind this war, I guess, is my question. What do you think? What is the objective here? Because clearly, yes, oil may be, involved a little bit, but the USA, has a lot of oil reserves, and so do a lot of countries, right, including Venezuela. We all heard about that conflict as well. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of talk about the financial system, and what's happening with that. Is it being reset? But there's something big going on, I think, in the background, and that's why we're getting all this stuff, right? The e-files, the conflict, all this stuff is coming out to take our attention away from what they're doing in the background. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think is the agenda here?
They are all lying to you, and here is your proof. Be right back.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers. We may have to deal with that in the short term. Short-term and temporary.
Temporary short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain.
Short-term pain. We have to focus on the short-term.
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 Short-term and long-term.
Short-term blip.
Make sure you get this out there like wildfire. Here's the problem. Mostly everybody in America is brainwashed. Fear-mongering, right? No, it's the truth. And they say, oh, you're watching the wrong news station. It's all of them. Don't y'all remember what Operation Mockingbird is? We'll get to this in 1 second. Let me make this clear for people who still believe their TV screen. If you don't have independent journalists on the ground in these locations, you're going to be out of the loop and completely unaware of anything that's happening. I have those things, and so do other people. There is no right media station. But yeah, shoot the messenger as always. Listen.
States, you just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks, meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people. This regime is in a death row now. It is going to be on its knees. It's going to fall. And when it falls, we're going to have peace. Like
when it falls, they're going to have peace. When they say peace and safety. Parallels as always. Get this out there. Let me know what you think. Why do all these people still believe what's on their TV screen?
Yes, well, Reuters basically tells every news outlet what to say. Like, this is all scripted. They get sent scripts. There's no journalists anymore, right? A journalist was someone who had a journal, right? A little book, a little notebook and a pen, and they would go around and find stories and write them in their journal. That's why they're called journalists, but that doesn't exist anymore, right? To the point where we've seen people out at, protests and things, different events, as independent journalists, and they're basically blocked, right? But the mainstream are allowed to, record the footage they want because that's controlled, right? So short term, this is what they want people to believe, right? And, who knows? But what they're not telling is the cost. The cost. And, he said all Americans are brainwashed, and, yes, most of them are, but same with Australia, Europe, Canada, same thing, right? Because the media is so strong. They can flood all of our senses, right? In the entertainment, in the news, in the social media, right? They just keep hammering these concepts out to us and put us in an echo chamber so that we believe them. That's why it's so important to come to your own conclusions and to not believe everything you see, especially these days, right? When we know that the one thing they do is lie and deceive. So what's behind this? They're trying to get everyone to believe it's just short term. So I guess people will go, oh, well, we can't stop it anyway. At least it's going to be short term. And that makes people complacent. If they were saying we're going into this and it's going to cost us, billions and trillions of dollars and tens of thousands of young people and years and, of this conflict and, affecting the economy even more, we've all seen the petrol prices, then people would be much more up in arms, right? More like we saw at the Vietnam conflict. So this is what they do. They try and lessen our awareness, right? Just sort of lull us into a false sense of security. It's okay. It might be a big conflict, but it's not going to last long, which means it won't affect you too much. And people go, oh, well, okay. That's my perspective at the moment. Don't believe what I say, though. Come up with your own. And, let me know what you think. The Mockingbird media. And here it is. We're on Wikipedia, so this is obviously the mainstream view. But Operation Mockingbird is an alleged large-scale program of the United States CIA that began in the early years of the Cold War and attempted to manipulate domestic American news media organizations for propaganda purposes. And this all goes back to, MK Ultra, Edward Bernays, and the Tavistock Institute, right? It's all tied in together, right? That they're very good with our psychology, right? Learning how we work. It says Operation Mockingbird apparently recruited leading American journalists into a propaganda network and influenced the operations of front groups. This was back in 1967 when it started. And this is the thing. If it was going on, then why would we believe that they would have stopped it, especially if it was getting results? And this is where we are now. What's that, like 50, 60 years later? And it's even worse now. Now there's no independent journalists. There's no independent news stations. Well, there's a few, clearly. But they're not promoted out. It's hard for them to get their message out. Like, we're just flooded with the mainstream. So this is what's going on. It's basically a big psychological operation, right? For people who watch the Tell Lie Vision, that box, the idiot box that tells lies to your visions, right? The one that's full of programmings where things are channeled at you, right? Pick your channel. It's all there. So definitely don't watch the mainstream news, but understand as well that a lot of what we see on social media comes also from the same people.
Did you guys hear what was just announced with BlackRock yesterday? And this is making many people wonder if we're in black swan territory. If you don't know what a black swan is, it's basically when a financial event happens that tanks the markets unfathomable amounts in like seconds. So for the first time in history, BlackRock is halting withdrawals. $26 billion is blocked. And you may be thinking like, to hell with BlackRock, like good, let them go down. But here's the problem. Yes, BlackRock is, they're taking over everything. But if they crash, so does your local gas station. So does all the companies they own, which is like our world right now. People want to cash out of BlackRock, but they said no. System is cracking, panic is spreading, and liquidity is gone. So investors wanted 9.3% of their money back, and BlackRock fully said no, which entails like they don't have it or something else is going on. I'm sure this is like a controlled burn, part of the new financial system they want to implement, right? Basically, the private credit market is in the tubes right now. But with rising oil, war in the Middle East, AI shaking things up, more and more layoffs because of AI, and rate cuts are off the table. And then one of the world's biggest...
Oh, well, that's ended suddenly. Interesting, right? BlackRock, Rupus Nigra, they have literally bought up most of the world, right? Including residential housing, and they've been allowed to do so. And it's an interesting point. If they own everything and they collapse, or at least make us believe they've collapsed, then everything might collapse, right? Or, of course, we could all stand up and say, well, you didn't own it anyway, right? This is all fraud. You've all lied to us. So we're just going to continue on our own, right? Stuff the bank, stuff all this stuff, because we're humans and we need to survive. That would be a good outcome. Just take it all back, right? But clearly there's something financial going on in the background. There's been a lot of talk about it for the last year or two, financial collapse. There's a lot going on with Bitcoin. That's also tied up with the e-files. But ultimately, countries have spent the last 5 years printing money just out of thin air, not backed by anything, which devaluates the currencies of the countries. And basically, it's making money worthless. And so they are at the point, the countries, where they don't even have money to trade anymore. And then we've got the whole, petrodollar, which I'm sure is tied in some way to the conflict in the Middle East. All the US dollar is backed on oil. And as they lose control of the OPEC countries, the countries, oil producing countries, well, they lose control of their economy. And they do need the economy they do need to be in it, right? They do need the cash to keep it flowing, because that's what they've set up, right? Even though they'd probably be fine, for a long time without the economy, they still need it to trade and to do whatever they're doing, right? And I think the ultimate plan is to try and bring through their psychopathic god, L, right? With all the CERN stuff, all the quantum computing stuff, all the stuff that you can go back to, Aleister Crowley, even back to John Dee, the story goes, really, where they were talking to these entities, right? And being given information as well on how to build different technology, right? Which is what they're using, the L electronic circuit, right? The 2D world to bring in their 2D God, right? And again, in my opinion, this is the simulation trying to be brought in. I don't believe we're in a simulation, but I believe they want us to believe that we're in a simulation. But let me know your thoughts. And also, guys, thanks for spending some time with me. Hope you're enjoying this one. Please do give me a like, share the video around, hype it up, all that good stuff. And of course, make sure you're subscribed.
Over the weekend, some of the most powerful leaders on Earth quietly admitted something pretty concerning. The world order that's kept the peace since World War II may be breaking down. You see, every year, world leaders, top security experts, and defense industries gather in Munich to discuss the biggest security threats the planet is facing. But this year was different. One theme multiple world leaders kept on repeating was the cooperative world order that was established after World War II. The only world order you and I know is apparently over. France's Macron said that Europe must prepare for potential war because old security structures are gone. Marco Rubio called for a new century of Western civilization. The UK's Keir Starmer said that they are considering significant increases to military spending to, quote, meet the wider threat. And Germany have already begun plans to build the strongest military in Europe again. So what the hell is going on? Well, we could all kind of feel something. But one grave explanation that went extremely viral on X is from Ray Dalio. He is the author of the book Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. And put very simply, he claims that we are entering the final stages of a cycle that is repeated throughout history before great wars. He outlined that before World War II, many similar things happening today happened then. Financial crises triggered internal instability, countries turned more nationalistic and authoritarian, trade wars, sanctions, and tariffs escalated between nations, military expansion followed, and eventually war became unavoidable. Now, it's got to be noted, not everyone agrees with Dalio's historical cycle theory, but many analysts do accept that great power tensions are clearly rising. Military spending worldwide hit yet another all-time record in 2025 of 2.7 trillion. In 2023, the world saw its highest number of state-based conflicts since 1946. Germany warned for the first time since the Cold War that war is no longer unlikely. And even among allies, things are changing. I mean, Europe's relationship with the United States hasn't been this strained for almost a century. Now, the path to destruction and war is not predetermined. And even Dalio stresses that smart leadership and diplomacy can fix what's broken. But what do you guys think? Are we doomed to watch history repeat itself? Or is this just another cycle of global panic that will fade away?
Well, if you don't know your history, it's doomed to repeat itself, right? Nothing is new under the sun. And in my opinion, this is all a plan, a script that's been written out decades ago, if not centuries. And, you know, he even said it himself, like the countries before WW2 started building up their armies. And then lo and behold, there was a conflict. I mean, it's... So they were getting ready for it. They knew it was coming. This is all planned, all scripted, and it's all part of, you know, their demonic script to take over everything, right? To bleed us dry, to swap their fake fiat currency, like paper, for real resources that is owned and should be defended by we the people. Right, so it's all an illusion. It's problem, reaction, solution. Right, they give us all these problems, as Dylan, I think his name is, was mentioning. Right, the finances, the countries becoming more nationalistic, and you know all this stuff. Right, the increased living expenses, and the countries then at the same time spending more on military. All this stuff, it's a program, right? It's getting us ready, like getting things into our subconscious concepts so that we accept things more easily. And it's getting the countries ready for an all-out conflict because they love conflict, right? Because for one, it's a massive sacrifice to their psycho god. And two, they make a lot of money, right? And they also disrupt countries. They get to rebuild them, you know, change the leadership. And of course, we, the people, are much easier to control when we're traumatized and we're displaced. So this is all good for them, right? Because all wars are bankers' wars, right? Remember that one. And now they've got, you know, everything behind them, all the media, social media, everything that we are putting most of our attention on, they control. So this is a controlled conflict. And the bigger picture is what they want, I think, is a controlled demolition. Right, because we have woken up too much. There's too many people that see through, that know what's going on. And they don't like that because they like their power. They want to be above us and treat us as goyim, right? Because they're the chosen ones, I believe. So it's a crazy time to be alive. And also, guys, I just want to say thank you to everyone who does support this channel. Thanks for all the amazing comments. You know, I don't get through them all. I try to. I do read a lot of them, and they're just so overwhelmingly positive. So, you know, thank you so much for that. And thank you, you know, for sharing and hyping the videos and all that kind of stuff. I really do appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to check out my main channel, Autodidactic. There'll be links below. And check out my podcast, that I do weekly, Tartaria Australia. The link is also below.
Why would they lie? Why would they lie? Why would they tell the truth when, has the government ever told you the truth? They lie about everything. They lie about science. They lie about the history, about the medicine, about the food, about poisoning the skies, poisoning the water. They even lied about the shape of the earth. They lied about everything. They made you believe that there is a magical rock floating around up in the sky. Up in the sky, there's a magical land floating up in the sky. Yes, and we can go there. Give us money, please. Why would they lie?
Indeed, why would they lie? I, of course, have my own theories and perspectives, but please let me know yours. What is the purpose of this? I mean, I would say that that's all they do. You know, there is a saying, I guess it's more Christian, you know, Satan is the father of lies. I would say the devil, right, is the father of lies, because the devil is just evil with a D at the front, right? Evil is the father of lies, right? Of course it is. Lying to people, making them believe in things that aren't real, manipulating them to do things that they wouldn't normally do because you've lied to them and instilled fear and trauma. And of course, ultimately they want us confused. They don't want us to know where we are, who we are, or when we are, right? And we see this through history, right? That they have changed everything. And as you saw there, those miniature cities, right? We saw this the other day in the videos about the nuclear testing. It was all fake. It was all just miniaturized things that they were, you know, blowing up, right? Just to convince us that something could happen. A bit like, you know, the footage from the moon landing, right? That now we look at it and it's so laughable that we're just like, how did anyone believe this? But, you know, it was a big thing. And they spent years conditioning people before they brought that in. Right, look at the shows during the 60s. There was so many sci-fi shows out there, right? And movies and the whole themes, comic books, everything, right? Music as well, right? Space, 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 space. And then, of course, it happened apparently. Yeah, so I was trying to think of the word of those little buildings, dioramas, I think they're called. So simulations of the real world, right? That's your simulation theory as far as I'm concerned, is all this fake stuff that they're trying to make us believe. Right, it's an overlay. It's not the reality of this place unless we believe it and walk into it. Very interesting, because I've said so many times, you know, with all these photos and maps, we don't know, one, if they're real, and two, you know, if they are real, what time they were taken. You know, if they're a photo or drawn when they were a map. We don't know. All we know is what they tell us about them. And the world was definitely a much different place as far as I can tell. This is based on available information, of course, a much different place just 500 years ago. And so they have literally been building the narrative, right, ever since they started trying to take over this realm, right, which is probably a couple of hundred years ago. So, you know, it makes the study of history very hard, right, because there's no facts, there's nothing that we can rely on. It's really, you know, educated guesses, right? What's your best educated guess? That's kind of all we've got at the moment, because they have messed things up so much. And we literally don't know who we are, where we are, or when we are. And definitely not what we are, right? We don't understand how powerful we really are.
Iran has deployed loads of fake military tanks and jets to fool American targeting systems. In some cases, they have even painted jets onto tarmac. The goal isn't to survive a strike, but to make the strike so expensive that it becomes unsustainable. They want a drone operator to fire a $2 million missile at a $500 painting. So far, America is spending nearly $1 billion a day at peak. The war's cost $3.7 billion just in the first 100 hours. I mean, can they keep that up?
What do we believe, right? There's so much fakery going on. It's crazy, but $2 million missiles, $1 billion a day, that's crazy. As the people in the USA can't afford food or housing. This is what the government's doing, right? And also, just to mention, by the leader who basically got elected saying he was going to stop all conflicts. So crazy, right? Crazy.
Nietzsche said, "He who sees too much ends up not fitting in anywhere." That's the curse of awareness. Once you start seeing beneath the surface, the world doesn't seem that simple anymore. You start to see the games that people play, the fake confidence, the hidden motives, and you start to realize that society is just made up of a bunch of lies and that everybody's sheep. You can't unsee it. And then when you speak up, people say you're overthinking, you're delusional. That's not how it works. So you just stop talking. You start observing. And because of that, you stop belonging. Not because you're better than anybody else, but because you know what's going on. You see everything, and you just can't be a part of it. Awareness isolates you, but that's the price of clarity. You might lose the crowd, but you'll find yourself.
Lose the crowd and find yourself, hey? Who's been through this, right? That's my life, basically. We're all black sheep, I'm sure, right? Black sheep unite. And we are, right? Like the world is, waking up, even though I don't really like that term. We're becoming more aware of what's really always been going on. But, it's better now than it's ever been. But, back especially before 2020, right? Being a black sheep wasn't that much fun. Like you couldn't have conversations with people. And you definitely, well, I definitely, saw through people, saw that they were just all fake, that it was just a persona that they were trying to put out to the world to make the world believe a version of them that they wanted the world to believe, or at least a version, this is all based on what they thought the world wanted to see. So it's all based in illusion anyway, because we don't know what the world wants to see. And, as far as other people, most of the time, they don't actually care. They're not watching you. They're not. But, so many people live their lives like everyone's watching me. I've got to put on this big persona. But they forget to think that they never do that to other people. Like I've never walked around looking at people and judging them and, oh my God, how could they, be that or present themselves like that? Like I've got a life to live and so does everyone else. So it's just this big loop they've got us in, right? Well, at least, the masses, the peeps, they're in this cycle of trying to prove to the world that they're something, right, different than what they are because they believe that's what the world wants to see. But they forget that the world actually doesn't care. Everyone's got their own stuff going on. It's crazy. But let me know your thoughts. What was your experience, post, 2020, but especially pre, when did you become aware and how did that affect your life? And also, your personality, because it does make you become, a bit more introverted, I'd say. You're not, because we don't want to go out into a crowd and just start spreading off all this stuff and be called a mad conspiracy theory, right? Theorist. That never ends well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. What was your journey like? Well, there's a solution where you can talk. Run a conspiracy party. I'm not sure why they used a black and white squared tablecloth, though. That's a bit Illuminati. But I mean, I've seen a couple of these videos and I think I want to do some of these. Get people around and everyone just grabs their favorite conspiracy theory, apparently, and basically just makes up a little presentation and everyone puts up their little presentation and then you all get to talk about all these things, right? And what it does is it gets conversation started and it makes us feel all connected, right, to each other. So we don't feel like the outcasts, like the weirdos anymore, even though being weird is cool, keep your weird on. Yeah, have you tried this? And if not, are you going to?
This is one of the coolest 1519 maps, like old world maps I've seen. You got to check it out. We got a griffin here to start off. We have all kinds of castles everywhere. On the other side, we got this dragon. And then we got this feller here that he looks quite large. Just saying. And the castles are all decked out back in the 1500s. It's pretty crazy. You got the names for all the places. All different cities. Check it out. It's pretty. This is a pretty cool map. And this is actually the China Sea. And all the places around it. Then you got this dude just hanging out up here. Check him out. Ears look kind of big to me, don't they? Just saying. Anyways, thought that was kind of cool one too. And then you got the castles here, got the towers. Look at the bridges going across this one. And this one's just stacked. A lot of palm trees out there in China. Again, that griffin was just pretty cool, and look how decked out it is. Another really cool one with all the bridges and stuff. Anyways, I just thought this was a really neat map and I wanted to share it with you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this. And until next time, stay curious, y'all.
Yes, maps. I love my maps. So yes, I did say, how do we know that any of this is real or that they're dated, to the real times? We don't, right? So what I kind of go off is, trying to find, similarities, right? Reference points that they all go to. And one thing we know about all these maps, with the griffins and the sea monsters and the giants and all this kind of stuff is we're told that that's just imagination. It's all fake. It was just drawn in there, for whimsy, right? Just because, who knows? I don't even know. They basically just tell us it's fake. But you see the same things on many, many different maps, like griffins, giants, unicorns, mermaids, sea monsters. It is across a lot of maps, and the maps definitely don't go along with the timeline that we've been given by the mainstream. It's definitely different when you look into them. As we saw in that map, 1500s, and completely built out, right? The whole map covered in fairy castles, right? And star cities and things, built with, horse and cart, right? Copper chisels, stone hammers, apparently. So none of it makes sense. But yeah, the best we can do is go off the information we can get and come to our best conclusion. So my best conclusion at the moment is that the world was definitely different in the 1500s. I have done a few map videos on my main channel in the last, couple of weeks, and there's a new one coming. I'm going to be getting that sorted today, and that asks the question, how long has Australia existed as a landmass? So check out my channel if you want to see that. It'll be uploaded later tonight. But yeah, this is the thing. They are hiding the past. They've created his story, right? History is a set of lies agreed upon. And so basically they just tell us it's all fake, none of it's real. And so that alone makes me think it's probably real. But there we go, guys. Another romp through the strange realm completed. Thanks for spending some time with me. Hope you enjoyed that one. Please do give me a like. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you thought about the videos, what you thought about my comments, what you think's going on in the world. I'd love to read it, and so would everyone else. There's lots of interaction in the chats, in the comment sections of my videos, so definitely get involved, right? You might even meet a thinking person that's near you, right? We need to start forming communities, right? And gathering and having real conversations in the 3D world, right? The natural world. So get involved. And of course, if you're not subscribed, what the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. And most importantly, guys, keep your minds open, stay autodidactic, and stay awesome. Because you are. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Oh my gosh. That's his match. All right, buddy, go say hi. Oh my gosh, hi. Oh. Looks like he picked you.
Looks like she's picked you.
Oh my god. Hi, sweet girl.
Say, I love you.
I love you. That's a quick. I love you. Can you say I love you? Good boy. I love you. I love you. Say I love you. Say I love you. Good boy. I love you. I love you. Say I love you.
I love you. Say it. Huh?
Luna, can you say I love you so much?
Say I love you.
I love you. I love you.
Can you say I love you? Yeah.
Because I love you.
I love you. I love you. I love you.